Good morning and welcome to Heart Mooresville, your small town radio show with a big heart. I'm your host, Christine Patterson, bringing you all the Mooresville news and happenings. And please welcome our guest co-host, Miss Amy Sherrill.
Good morning.
She's our arts and events supervisor for experience and engagement. So all those big festivals and large-scale community events, she's the lady behind it, her and her team. So we have a special show today. Today is our Veterans Day edition of Heart Mooresville, which is all about honoring the incredible men and women who have served our country. And while we can never repay that debt to our veterans for their service, it is something that we can do our part to honor that service through action. And today I want to talk with some local veterans and talk about how the town of Mooresville continues to serve our veterans. We are nearing the end of a week and a half long celebration for our veterans here in Mooresville. The annual Veterans Day Parade will take place later today, where veterans from all over the county will come together. And today I am joined by Mr. Don Pouch, who is a local veteran. Good morning.
Good morning.
And a special guest, Mr. Mayor Carney. Good morning. I'm sorry, I'm
I appreciate it. Actually, it's a real pleasure to be here, and it's really great to be here with Don. So anytime we can celebrate our Vietnam vets, it's always exciting. So I can't wait to hear his perspective, see what more we can do in Mooresville to celebrate our vets. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, both of you all are veterans, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of your experience, but I want to share a couple kind of statistics about veterans in our area. So Iredell County has more than 15,000 veterans. And in North Carolina alone, there are 620,000 veterans. And that's a huge population.
Sure is.
Yes. Now, some of the biggest challenges that face veterans today are getting access to resources. And I know, Mayor Carney, you've been a huge advocate for veterans and have, worked to build partnerships that truly have made a difference in the community. And you have another one that you're working on with some local partners. I'd love for you to share about that.
Sure. I'm glad that you're bringing it up. So about 18 months ago or so, we had this idea that we could do a better job of, really showing how our appreciation to our veterans. And one of the things we realized, especially disabled veterans and disabled first responders, was housing. And it's not inexpensive to live in Mooresville. And so essentially we were trying to figure out, how do we not make them feel like we're not the place where they can live? And as lots of people know, I'm pretty good friends with Joe McFarland over at Lowe's, and he's served in the Marine Corps and great guy. That's how he got started. And building homes for heroes and their CEO, Andy, who's just such a great guy. And we were talking about, they were doing projects all over the country. And we came up with the idea of, well, how do we not do it in Lowe's backyard where their, headquarters is? And from there, we decided to figure out what could we do from the town side to facilitate it. And so Lowe's already had a fund that they had put together. So for all of you who go to Lowe's and shop, and I don't know why you would shop anywhere else, you,
of course.
Sorry, we don't even allow orange in Mooresville.
No.
But when you go and shop and they give you the option to round up, that goes to help veterans and specifically this project. So that money went, and Lowe's put the money in. Building Homes for Heroes actually has the relationships with builders and stuff. And we had about 4 to 4.5 acres of land that prior boards had accumulated over next to our war memorial. And what we needed to do was figure out how we could use that to build on. And this doesn't surprise anybody that government isn't always very efficient or effective sometimes in things. So believe it or not, there was actually a state law that prevented us from being able to use that.
Really?
Yep. And so I know everybody likes to pick on the fact that, I've stayed friends with my guys down and girls down in Raleigh, but I let them know, hey, we'd like to do this. I need your help. Could we pass a bill that would allow us to, for cities and towns across our state, to use property to help with veteran housing? And they ran a bill and it passed, and now nice. We can do it. It took us about a year to get that bill through, which is kind of what held us off. But it passed a couple months ago, and now we're fully going. And today was a huge celebration. As you know, Lowe's is downtown for the Veterans Parade today, and Building Homes for Heroes has been downtown today, and we're celebrating the turning of the dirt and just how we're here and what a big difference it's going to make. We think we do about 14 houses, and they're going to be given away. The only caveat to it is that you can never have somebody in that village that does not a disabled veteran or first responder. So when you sell, you have to sell to somebody who meets that qualification. So it'll always be a nice community. And the great thing about being right there is we have the facility of the War Memorial Richard's Coffee Shop is just a couple blocks away. So it's just going to really make it a special place. Liberty Park's right there. It's going to be a really special place for our veterans.
Yeah. And what a great fit for our community. I mean, Mooresville is so supportive of our veterans in general, and our town of Mooresville. And it just feels like a natural fit. So I have some more questions about that project. But before we get into that, I'd love for you all to share your background. And Mr. Pouch, what branch did you serve in?
I served in the Navy.
Navy boy, okay.
That was in the early 60s, 63 through 66. And I was just very fortunate. I joined the Navy when I was 17. And right after I got out of high school, and with my dad's signature. And then I went to boot camp in San Diego. And then I went to A school in Great Lakes, Illinois. And they taught me to work on boilers and what I needed to know. And then I went back to San Diego for pre-commissioning schools. And I was sent to Bremerton, Washington to pick up a new ship.
Wow.
So I was on a new ship the entire time I was in.
Wow. How long did you end up serving?
I just served 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days.
You got it down to the day.
Wow.
I love that. And then what about you, Mayor Carney?
Well, I got to tell you, the fact that he got to serve in San Diego, I'm telling you, it's like everybody wants to serve in San Diego. It's like the greatest. It's like 75 degrees year round. I was a student at NC State, thought I wanted to be a civil engineer. And so I went and looked at the Navy and the Seabees, which is the Civil Engineering Corps to the Navy. And, I enjoyed that. And I will tell you, people think politicians are liars. Recruiters are liars. I'll tell you, there's no better liar in the world than a recruiter.
They have to sell it.
Oh, it's going to be so great.
You'll see the world. You'll see these great places. And so I didn't go to San Diego. I went to Orlando, which of course isn't terrible. But then I went to Gulfport, Mississippi. And that was certainly, this was before they had gambling. So it was pretty awful. And then on to Norfolk and to Camp Lejeune. I got attached to a Marine, even though I was in the Navy unit over there. So it was really an interesting time. I did it because during the first Gulf War, I don't know if y'all remember when Saddam was, losing his mind. I just wanted to do my part. I felt like I just never really liked bullies in the first place. And I felt like here was a bully. And I always wanted to serve our country at some time anyway. And so my roommates, believe it or not, all of us went and signed up. And we all went. We're all one of them was a sophomore and the other two of us were freshmen. And we went over there and signed up for to go and do our part. And I'm really proud. I always tell people the only reason I didn't stay was, I started dating Francie in high school, and that was not the life. She was at pharmacy school at Chapel Hill, and she did not want to do that. So I did my 8 years total between inactive and everything, and then we had children, and so I got out in '99, and we had Rachel and Maddie in '99. So the timing was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk about, I know we're going to take a break in a second, but I do want to talk about kind of how serving has shaped your outlook on life. Because, and for you, Mr. Pouch, it helped determine what career path that you were going to take, and really help shape, what the rest of your life was going to look like.
Right.
So we're going to, I'm sorry. So we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to hear about that, Mr. Pouch. So we'll be right back here on WSIC News.
Thank you.
And welcome back to Heart Mooresville here on WSIC News. This is our special Veterans Day edition, and we are talking with two local veterans, Mr. Pouch and Mayor Carney, local veterans from here in Mooresville. And Mr. Pouch, I had asked you a question right before we went to break, is how did serving in the military help kind of shape what the rest of your life would look like, and the outlook on your life?
It just totally completed it. And when I say that, I'm sincere. Because after I got out of the Navy, I realized that I didn't have enough education. So I went back to school, picked up my mechanical engineering degree, and then got into the boiler business, which is what I was familiar with. And the Navy gave me the background for that. So I just continued on. It's been great.
Yeah. And I'm sure, especially the skills that you learned, in the military are so applicable to probably every part of your life.
Oh, yeah.
And really that's how you chose your career.
Right.
And then what about you, Mayor Carney?
It's interesting. I do have a pretty running joke with the DOT, Department of Transportation, that in the Navy, we had to build roads quickly because people were shooting at us. That maybe if we shot at the DOT, they might move a little faster on their roads. But to me, it was a different, it gave me a chance to grow up. I think I left kind of as a frat boy and came back with like real purpose and understood a little bit more of what it took to work hard and the fact that there was really an opportunity to grab the American dream, because I had, like you said, now you take good work ethic with education and off you go to, I went into banking at that time. But I think it really I got a chance to grow up a lot. Yeah. Man, they're really good about teaching you how to make decisions and how to work under a stressful environment. That's really what most people learn more than that's really what they're trying to teach you when you go in the military, is how to be clear-headed during chaos. Don't you agree, Don?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which are great skills for any situation, really.
Especially the job I have now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. And as you look back, you think about these things, it's all just a big growing process, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, Like I've been married to the same woman 61 years.
Me too.
And I'm just as happy as I can be with my life. And and the Veterans Administration backs me 100% on all my health issues and do very well.
Can I say this? Because I'm sure you get the same thing. I can't help but because at the time it's a little bit of a blur, but you go back and you look now, and I'll run into 17, 18-year-old children and young adults, whatever you call them, and think about that's what runs our military.
Isn't it?
You see somebody who graduates high school, essentially they're months away from being on a multi-million-dollar or even billion-dollar facility, and whether it be an aircraft carrier or whatever, and we can teach them these skills. To me, it's amazing to look back, because we thought we were so big and tough back then. Yeah. We're just boys, right?
Just
kids.
That's what
couldn't even barely go to rated R movie, and it's crazy.
I just and that's exactly true. They gave me a skill that I could use my entire life, and I have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And enjoyed it. I mean, really enjoyed it. And I've been able to travel, and I've been able to do things that I'd never been able to do otherwise.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're planning a trip to Alaska.
That's great.
Yeah. My wife and I are and our family, our whole family, are going in May.
Wow. Well, if we haven't said it yet, thank you both for your service.
Appreciate that, hon.
I know obviously we hear a lot about, the challenges that veterans face, and, you go and you see the world, but then, in many cases, you also see some terrible things, and then you come back, and it's a very different life that you have to transition back into. And so I know, many communities try to make as many resources available to veterans as possible. And, I think, again, Mayor Carney and Town of Mooresville has done a great job at, trying to make sure that we have these resources. And we talked about a few, and we have new initiatives coming, and I hope to see that continue. But one that we have here that we've had for a while is Richard's Coffee Shop. Mm-hmm. And it's such an amazing resource to have for our veterans. Mm-hmm. What does a place like that mean to you as a veteran?
It's just a place you can go and share. There's not a lot of places you can share your experiences with, other than going there and sharing it with your buddies. Mm-hmm. That you sit there and drink coffee with and visit with, and it's just a real opportunity. And another thing too, if you got anything serious on your mind, that it's been festering or whatever, you can go there and talk to a bunch of guys your own age, and
they understand.
It's a really special place. And I'm not a terribly emotional guy. I am as I'm getting older, and my kids are getting older and stuff. But I remember walking in there, and when you sign the book and get a hug, I got teary-eyed. And it's so funny because, I think you're the same way. We all serve because we just thought it was the right thing to do. And I appreciate the thank yous, but at the end of the day, that's not really why we do it.
Yeah.
But it is so interesting that when you walk in and they treat you that way, it's moving. Didn't you think so?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was really
and
special.
when you see that memorabilia too on the wall, I'm sure that looks very different. It's a living military museum. And so, those things are displayed in uniforms, but I'm sure that feels different to you because you live that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real
That's
life.
true. And it's just, like I say, there's so many guys there with so much experience and so many different avenues in the military that they've pursued. And it's just a real dupes mixture of men that experienced this.
Yeah. And when you transitioned back into society and after you served, for both of you, what did you find to be most helpful? What resources?
Well, I think the fact that I went through school in the military to learn a trade,
Mm-hmm.
and when I got back, to civilian life, I mean, I truly realized I didn't have enough education, and that's why I went back to school and did a little better, and it's amazing how much my life changed just by that.
I think the hard part in the Navy, and I think you probably have forgotten this, but I think it'll definitely, you'll chuckle with me. It's the lingo. We have our own language in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you come home and your language is not the language that everybody else speaks.
Right.
And you're calling the wall,
The
bulkhead, and you're calling, and instead of yes, you're saying I, and, and make a hole. And you just have this whole different language. And I remember coming home and applying for a summer internship. And I'm in this interview with this person, and I'm speaking this whole language, and I'm apologizing the whole time, but it's so in your brain you can't shake it, right? And I thought that was actually the funny part, coming back, and we just have a whole different lingo.
Skivvy.
Yes, right.
If I would have known that we had two Navy boys on here, I would have done, because we love to play games.
Mhm.
So we would have done some lingo trivia, something like that.
We got a
Definitely.
wheel right
Maybe
here.
next time.
Sure.
Next time.
Yeah. Sure.
Now, Mayor Carney, you were telling us about the Building Homes for Heroes partnership. And of course, Lowe's is a big partner in that too. And that is amazing that we will have, 14, 15 houses to give away essentially to our veterans. I know you all are working on other things. What other initiatives will we maybe see in the future?
Well, I think to your point, I think we're going to double down on some of the mental health, figure out. And as we were talking about before, I think having Duke Medical Center now in Mooresville is pretty special, and they've been great to work with. Obviously, Lee Whitfield and so many of them over there have been great, and we're looking at how we can expand some of those opportunities, and especially even as some of our veterans are getting older. What can we do when it comes to recreation that gives them an opportunity to do things that keep, we got to keep them moving around, and some of that will really be helpful with hopefully keeping the health, because it's hard. And even having the VA, it is, as much as it's a great asset, it's still 45 minutes away. So we probably should look at things like we were talking about earlier, about transportation.
Right.
Are we helping people get there? And people don't realize, any form of government's a big bureaucracy. And I've got a great friend of mine who is a Vietnam vet, and the same thing. He had a heart attack. And this is back before being mayor again. He just called out of just pure, he just didn't know what else to do. And he said, he's like, they're turning down because I didn't go to the VA, but I was having a heart attack. They took me to the closest hospital. And it took a year, but he was working through that. And finally, he just got frustrated. And at that time, McHenry was our congressman. I was able to get him connected, and they got right on it. And in fact, so sometimes people just don't even know where the resource is, because everybody wants to help a veteran. We just got to get the veteran and the resource paired up.
Right.
And sometimes that's the piece where being the mayor helps a lot, is because if you know where the resources are, you can help connect those two people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting that I see this trend a lot with veterans is, you serve in that capacity in the military, and then many of you go on to serve in other ways. And it feels like service is kind of at the center of that. That's what's in your heart. Obviously in obvious ways, serving the community, serving in the mayoral capacity. Have you found that to be true too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say, I looked forward when I was in civilian life to going to work. 10 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, I was at the office. I made the first pot of coffee. I unlocked the door, and and then my day'd run clear till 5:36 in the evening. And it just seemed like that all of that was just what I really liked to do, and I enjoyed doing. And as a result, that's why I was there every day.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. And we're going to take a quick break. But you all can join us later today for the annual Veterans Day Parade on Main Street in Mooresville. We hope you join us. We'll have lots of fellowship at Richard's Coffee Shop, and everybody will be gathered downtown. And if you're a Mooresvillian, you know to put your chairs out early.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably already down there. You may have missed the spot because it's already lunchtime. There are probably no more spots. All right. But happy Veterans Day to everyone. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break here on WSIC News. And welcome back to Heart Mooresville here on WSIC News. So in the spirit of our special Veterans Day edition of Heart Mooresville, we have another local veteran, Miss Anne Marie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. So you have to give us your background. So what branch did you serve in? How did you make it to serve in the military?
Yeah, so I was in the U.S. Army, of course. The best branch.
Insert joke here.
I'm gonna let her get done, and then we'll have some fun with it.
So I was. I'm originally from Northern California. Please don't judge me.
Oh,
You sound
California
kind
girl.
of you sound kind of Southern.
Oh, thank you. I thought I could be a Southern
You
belle
blend
after so
well.
many years.
Yeah, you blend.
Yeah. No. I actually was offered a scholarship to UC Davis Medical for cardiology. After I did that tour with my mother, I realized very quickly there was no way in God's green earth we were going to be able to afford that. So I had already joined the military. I hadn't told my parents that I did. And so when I joined right after high school, I left, went on active duty, was stationed in Germany. After Iraq, shifted gears. Iraq was a little different in 0405. So I moved to North Carolina with intention to go to NASCAR Tech. At that time, I went to Pat's Gourmet Coffee Shop, met Richard Warren and a handful of other veterans. And that changed my plan a little bit. And so then I decided I was going to go back to school. So I joined the Mooresville National Guard. So I was at the armory there. So I could go back to school. And then 9 months later, got deployed again. This time we went to Djibouti. And so then, that was it. Came back to Mooresville. I've been here 20 plus.
All right.
So, wow. So,
awesome.
And then what is your, after you got out of the Army, your career was?
Yeah. So believe it or not, I actually worked for the Town of Mooresville when before I left, and when I came back, I worked at the MAC Center. But when I came back, things had shifted, and my boyfriend of almost 19 years, he was injured in Afghanistan. So at that point, we kind of shifted gears because his surgeries from his injuries were going to take a lot. There's not a lot of employees. Town of Mooresville was not as, and I don't mean it in a mean way, but they were not as willing to work with me for his surgeries and therapy and things of that nature. And so at that time, we decided to start our own little business, just a little side hustle to make a little extra money. And we started Blue Collar Reloading. And so we traveled the North Carolina circuit doing gun shows, selling reloading components for people who want to make their own ammo. And in 2018, I built the website. And in 2020, we stumbled across a great opportunity to buy a business in Salisbury. And we bought that hard site building. And in 2022, we sold it.
Wow.
Because we found some people across the Mason-Dixon line that wanted it more than us after, 10 and a half years. And so.
Wow.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I joke with people, I'm not retired because I'm a little young to say that, I feel like, but semi-retired in between jobs right now.
And I'm sorry that we sucked at one time. I apologize.
No.
For that. So I always say that.
Things have changed a lot. Yeah.
Well, the MAC Center at that time, it was, I did facility maintenance. I mean, cleaning 62 toilets every day. Maintaining the building, cleaning it, setting up, breaking out. It was a lot of fun, but part-time, it wasn't realistic for me, long term. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
And it got, now, I mean, I tell people all the time, isn't it great that you found a really great career, right? And that you really loved,
Yeah.
All worked out.
So same question to you,
Sure.
How did those skills that you learned in the military kind of help shape what the rest of your life looked like?
Well, I say the military, Mayor Carney mentioned it earlier. You do grow up very quickly. They break you down, build you up to what they want you to be. Of course, I started off as a mechanic, wasn't really unfamiliar with that already because my dad at the time, I followed him around in his shop. I mean, I rebuilt my first carburetor at like 12. And so it's a running joke now. Like, I can't bake you biscuits, but I could probably rebuild your engine for
That's
you.
awesome.
Everyone needs that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I'd rather do that than bake biscuits anyway.
yeah. Well,
If I
I've
could
tried
do
and
that.
I've not been
If.
successful. But yeah, no, I think being very disciplined, being punctual, always on time, always having integrity, those things have stuck
Yeah.
with me. The Army Corps values, there's 7 of them that always did it, self-discipline. I mean, just selfless service and always. And even now in my role, even though I haven't been working the last few years since we sold our business, I still find an opportunity to give back to the community that gave to me while I was serving.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And how long did you serve?
9 years.
9
Yep,
years.
to the day.
To the day.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, like,
Yeah,
to the
9
day.
years.
Is it that bad, or is it just that something that sticks in your mind?
No, I think, I don't know. Cause like your deployments, like, I was in Iraq 366 days.
Mhm.
That was a long time,
I guess you are counting the days.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you're like, okay, 2 weeks and a wake up, 2 weeks and a wake up. But Djibouti was a little different because we left Mooresville in October of 2006, and we did not return home until March of 2008. And so that was
Wow.
a little bit of a long and stressful, but that
A
changed.
small world. At the time, I was a commissioner, and I
Yep.
was at your deployment.
Going away,
I
yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah, our going away
look
ceremony.
At that. What a
Yeah.
small world. My roommate from college was he's now Colonel Poovey, but he oversees. He's one of the over the National Guard for North Carolina, and as a full-time officer. And I remember when he reached out and said, "Hey, we're going to do this," and I was like, "I wouldn't miss it for the world."
Yeah.
So it was great. seeing
Yeah,
you.
well,
Oh,
we were
very
little.
cool.
We were a 10-man unit. I
Yeah.
mean, and that was it. Well drilling. They sent us out there like,
Yeah.
go make us proud. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh.
And you expected us to drill a well, sent us to, you were talking about Gulfport. We were actually at Camp Shelby, Mississippi in Hattiesburg.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Lord, that's
Something.
different.
It is.
Yeah. Mississippi, that's
I told
a
everybody.
whole new world.
I grew up in Hickory, and I thought, man, Hickory's a metropolis compared to
Yes.
Mississippi. So
Yes.
it was interesting.
Now, I know we talked a little bit about, transitioning back and 9 years, obviously, and,
Yeah.
that environment, it's different than civilian life.
Yes.
And so what did that look like, that transition, and kind of, what challenges did you have?
Yeah. So, when I came off of active duty, it was a little bit different in Germany. Like, I think the only thing they really prepared me for was how to write a resume, to make it short, simple, and to not use military lingo. Like, don't use your slangs and acronyms. But for me, moving to Mooresville, granted, I worked at History's when that restaurant first
Oh, yeah.
opened.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a rough job for me coming from active duty as a maintenance, working in the kitchen. But I met the guys at Richard's. Well, it was Pat's Gourmet Coffee at that time. And so meeting Richard Warren and a handful of those that have, passed since, I tell people I've got like 100 extra dads and grandfathers and uncles, but
Aw.
the coffee shop has been a place for me, not just for healing and refuge, but that circle is so big that if I needed anything or help or direction, and pretty quickly, I was introduced to Brad Stroud, who was our VSO. And, before you know it, Brad knows everybody, both, active duty in the county, in the state. And so that helped. And the coffee shop, even today, with some of the organizations we work with now, it's still a good opportunity for any veteran, to kind of on that transition. And we really do, especially the younger generation, for those that are Iraq and Afghanistan,
Yeah.
we try to reach out to them more often, but most of them are still working with children and families, and
Right.
employers are not so forgiving to let veterans get a break off. I joke that Iredell County should make, veterans on Thursdays go to Richard's coffee shop, and their company have to
Aw.
pay them so they can
That's a great idea.
socialize,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
and because
Mental
it's good
health.
for mental health, and it is, and we stress that a lot with the mental health. I mean, I'm one of the younger, and I eat breakfast every Thursday morning with a 101-year-old man. So I mean,
Yeah.
John England is
Yeah.
our
He's our
He's our Grand Marshal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Grand Marshal in the
He's
parade this
fantastic.
year.
He's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. So I
Yes.
eat breakfast with him every Thursday. I have for the
Aw.
last couple of years.
That's awesome.
He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, getting to talk to other veterans, and obviously having, been yourself, what do you feel like would be most helpful? Like what do we need to do for our veterans?
Yeah. So, I'm on a handful of boards, different, OptiVets is another avenue for veterans. Instead of going to the VA for medicine. OptiVet, Restore and Hydrate is also now in downtown Mooresville, Dr. Bishop. These are other avenues for people to stop using so much of other, I would say, alcohol and pills and things of that nature. You've mentioned it before. Recreation is a big thing. There are a lot of scientific studies out there that show, exercising and dancing, your brain produces at a higher level of all the good things your brain needs to produce. But laughter is also another great thing. Being in camaraderie with those that are familiar to you is also another really good opportunity. And that's why the coffee shop's a good healing place.
I'm not dancing with Dawn.
Thank you so much, Anne Marie. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back here on Heart Mooresville and WSIC News. Welcome back to Heart Mooresville here on WSIC News. We are talking with some local veterans, Miss Anne Marie and Mayor Chris Carney from the town of Mooresville. So we've talked a little bit, and Anne Marie, I think you mentioned this about, the skills that you, get serving in the military. And I want to talk a little bit about how those skills are applicable into today's workforce. And so at the town of Mooresville specifically, employs approximately 83. I think we've had a couple new ones that may not be counted, but let's say 83 veterans. But that workforce is continuing to grow. And of course, we're trying to attract, those skills. And Mayor Carney, I know you that's something you're working on. That's an initiative to try to, attract those jobs that are perfect for, people like veterans.
Right. And so we talk about, we talked about on the break that it's one place where I really do encourage our HR to give veterans a little bit of a bump when you're looking at resumes, because I think it does a lot for our organization. But actually coming out of like the recession, we all remember 2008, 9, 10. One of the things that I just realized that Mooresville was more affected by what happened everywhere else than what happened in Mooresville, right? And so when we looked at how we're going to recruit more companies, I always said that defense was a really great place to go, because even during recessions, the defense still spends money, right? And so these last, 2 years, that's what we focused on. And matter of fact, I was with Commerce yesterday and one of our defense companies, and they were here because I'll be in Fayetteville on Friday, and because we're talking about how we take, because North Carolina is like 29th in defense contractors in the country, like behind New Hampshire.
That's really
how in the world, right?
Yeah.
They don't even like guns in New Hampshire, I think. But our idea is, how do we become top 10 and what we have is we have such a great talent of people who came here for racing, and the same brains that you use to make race cars go fast, you use to make rockets and other things. So first we want to design it, which we already have some companies that do that at a really high level, and they're internationally known. Well, now we want to start making it, right? And so the goal is, if we can design it, make it, and test it here in North Carolina, we will be just such a great place. And we have so many veterans who get done and decide that this is where they want to make their home. And it'll be great to take those skills and move them over into that high skilled manufacturing in defense. So it's over the next 2 years, it is fully and talking about whether it's the governor's office. I'm meeting with some of our congressional delegation on Friday. It is really where we're pushing.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And I think, we talk about those skills, what are those skills? You're talking technical skills, first of all, that are needed to design things like rockets.
Classified clearances a lot of times to do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think the knowledge of how it works.
Yep.
But being in the military, a lot of us had an opportunity to mess with a lot of that stuff that ordinary people every day don't get an opportunity to do. So that would be a great start.
And internationally, I'll tell you what people didn't realize is, as much as people want to, get caught up in the national politics, one of the great things that happened is when the United States said, hey, wait a minute, we're not going to be everybody's guardian anymore. We're still here, but people have to start kind of pulling their own weight a little bit. Anybody who's around Russia now has had to start looking at how are they investing in. Well, a lot of our companies have the ability to help them get there. So that's why you've seen us over there in the Norways and the Finlands and those places, because the ones that border Russia, they're really worried about that. So we're going to help them get ramped up so they can defend their own borders. And what people don't realize is this Ukraine-Russia war has really given our military development a chance to put stuff into action quickly. And so it's really, this is a prime time for the United States, hopefully to really expand on how our defenses and how to make them work. We can do things that cost less.
Right.
Instead of using a lot of there's a lot of things that we fired were really expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And now they're finding that we can do it a little bit less expensive. And so,
Right.
There's only so much money in the whole budget, and everything we can save on this side while still being really effective, we can use for other things.
Yeah.
Benefits, especially for our veterans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things too. I appreciate, our current board and you, Mr. Mayor, that the progress that we've made over the last few years of, it's even everything is the type of jobs that we're attracting. It's the type of jobs that, we have that range where, it's skilled, but entry level jobs all the way up to, very technical jobs that you would need that sort of degree, high paying jobs, because we do need a good range of those types of jobs for people. And the military obviously builds those skills. I mean, soft skills, even showing up on time,
Yes.
punctuality.
Right.
Yes.
Well, Amy knows this too, but I'll tell you right now, the thing that people don't realize is the biggest thing we can do for somebody who goes to work in North Carolina is get them employed at the level of skill they have. Because back when we were kids, I'm a lot older than she is, but when we were kids, you could come out of high school and you could learn a skill and you could work your way up through whether it be furniture or textiles, whatever. And next thing you know, you're a floor manager, then you're a plant manager and you whatever. And now you're sending your kids off to school and you have kind of middle class. Yeah. Well, as those have gone away, so you have people who probably should be earning $25 an hour, earning 15 or 12.
Right.
And that's a life-changing amount of money difference and not giving them a chance to move up. And so that's really what we're trying to do is take people who are really trainable and give them an opportunity to maximize their income potential. And if we can take people who are kind of in the lower middle class and move them up to higher middle class, that's life-changing.
Absolutely. And we're even seeing that, with our pay and comp plan with the town of Mooresville, everything that you all have done. And I think we're seeing that the trend of, trying to let people know that there are other options other than just a 4-year degree in college. There is the military there, and there's so much opportunity after that. There are trade schools. We have, places like NASCAR Technical Institute, which could have been your path.
Could have been, yes.
Yeah.
But you chose the military.
And it's funny you bring that up because when we have high school students and even other people in the community come into Richard's Coffee Shop and we talk with them, I always tell them, and a lot of parents don't like it, but I say don't be a burden to your parents. It's not your parents' responsibility to put you through school. There's opportunities for you. Trade school, you can work and go to school at the same time. The military will pay you. Yeah. And sometimes in some branches like the Navy, they pay you to go to school while you're being paid while being in the Navy. And I'm like, it's a good opportunity for kids to realize that 4-year piece of paper is not going to make a difference. Most companies, me personally, when we owned our company, experience was more important to me. And if you could show up on time, stay off your phone, not have your wife or girlfriend calling you every hour on the hour, bring your drama to work. If you could leave that stuff at home, come to work, do your job, the experience was more important than having that 4-year degree. And I mean, I have a 4-year degree and I've never used it. Not once.
I would say get you your first job.
Yeah.
No. Well, I don't know.
And I feel like a lot of people are choosing the military because of free education.
Right.
Because education is expensive.
It is. Yes. Yeah, it's very expensive.
And
I don't know that you learn, the military, like when you join, you're learning a set skill, whatever the job is. So that's another thing when we're at Richard's Coffee Shop, I tell these kids, everybody wants to be infantry, right? Because you've watched Band of Brothers and you realize why they get promoted so fast. But in reality, when you join, find a job in the military that if you chose that it wasn't a 20-year or not a lifetime commitment, you could come out and go find a job anywhere in the world doing it. The medical field, electrical, but I think Mike Rowe always hits it on there with the trade. I mean,
you're 100% right. And we tell people all the time, a 2-year business degree from Mitchell and learn how to be an electrician or heating and air, you created a millionaire in Mooresville, North Carolina, because there's plenty of work. You own your own company. We laugh half our firemen on their days off own a company, and they do better there than they do with the town of Mooresville.
Yeah, I worked part-time for an HVAC company in Landis on and off for a few years. And a lot of those technicians, the older they would write their own paycheck.
Oh, that's right.
Because you couldn't find first of all, you can't teach that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't use boilers, some of the older oil and heat and furnaces and stuff like that. And I mean, one of the techs there at one time, granted, he should have been retired, but he was well over in the $40 per hour. Yeah. And if we had to send him overtime, you want to laugh.
When I came back, when I was talking about Navy, my first job that I had in the summer, I was working at Lowe's in Hickory, where my mom was a manager there. And I was unloading trucks and putting them up at night. And the guy running the forklift was worth like $3 million.
Yeah.
Because he'd been with Lowe's and he had his retirement. And he came to work, and I asked him, I said, why do you come to work? He goes, I love working.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it is amazing. But he ran a forklift. He learned how to run a forklift. And that's a real skill, actually.
It is. Yeah.
For those of you who've never run a forklift, it's not as easy as it looks. Yeah.
And I think the military teaches you work ethic. I mean, every veteran or anyone in the military, they can't retire. Like, it's not in them to retire. They need to work and they need to stay busy.
It's that drive to serve. You know, I think it's just innate.
And do what you're told.
Yeah, do as you're told.
Yeah.
Sometimes people ask me a question like, just
do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
No explanation.
Well, we're about to wrap up here.
We got to give a shout out to Gary West then.
Yes.
If we're going to have veteran, the other veteran on our board who is a Marine, Gary West. So give a nice shout out to Gary. He and I have a lot of fun picking on each other for our branches, but I do respect the heck out of him for serving. And, it's always great to have another person who's pushing veteran values because they see the value, what we're trying to do for people that have served our country. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And again, thank you both for your service. And thank you for what you're doing for our veteran community. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for these partnerships that are benefiting our community and veterans in general. We hope everyone has enjoyed and got to take part in the veteran celebrations that have happened over the last 10 or so days. And we hope you'll join us just in a couple hours at the Veterans Day Parade in downtown Mooresville. You can always find information about all of the upcoming events in Mooresville at mooresvilleevents.com. You can also submit your own events that are happening at your business or organization on our Mooresville events calendar. There's an easy one-step application to load those events, and we'll approve them and help share about the great things going on in Mooresville. Thank you all.